Good evening, Miss Monica Sanchez.
Evening, Mr. Eatman. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, 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 wonderful. I really am. So happy that we were able to carve out some time to just reflect, for lack of a better term, you know, on um on some stuff that
Been a
we
year.
what happened.
It's been a year.
It's been a year, in a year. Just so the viewing audience knows, Ms. Sanchez and myself have been working together, building an insurance firm for over a decade. She's our accounting director. She makes sure that the money works, so we can still get paid. So Hercules for her. That's the bottom line. Call it what it is. But
The occasional ogre in the office.
what happened? I
The
didn't
occasional ogre.
listen. I don't know about all that. What I do know is that this COVID period, for us, and I say us, because when you work in a business for so long together building, it's your second family. You know what I'm saying? So when this whole thing hit us, it was very daunting. I've had a lot of COVID survivor stories and first responder stories and so on and so forth. But it's very different when it's the family per se, if that makes sense. It's very, very different.
It's very different when it hits home. I think we all started out like this, and I'll speak of our experience as co-workers. When I don't know if you felt this way, but when we were talking about it, I don't know if we were following this very closely from the beginning of the year, back in actually even before the year began. We were following this since November of 19, where we knew that at some point it was getting serious in other countries, but it never felt close. We almost felt like we were invincible, or we were not the kind of country that would go through something like this, through changes so drastic, because at some point I think we all feel very protected when we are from the United States.
Right.
It's like that doesn't happen to first world countries.
Right.
We got this. And I think even when we were hit in the face with it, where we decided to do our sort of trial to see how the business would do if we all went remotely.
Right.
I don't know if you did, but I did at some point, because it was like vacation. Nice.
Right.
I get to go home. I get to be home.
Something you don't do much.
First week was great. Second week was even better. Third week was excellent. Fourth week, when we see the pandemic hit, because I think we left 2 weeks prior to the quarantine starting.
Right.
We went back. We were supposed to go back 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, we were all quarantined. And then the fourth week, we were like, holy shit. Maybe I don't want to be home all that much.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I don't want to play anymore.
I think that's very real talk. Whenever I reflect on that moment, I always, think about the leadership of our CEO. And so I will forever celebrate him for that, because he looked at it, he talked about it, bounced it in the universe. Then he said, well, let's do a trial. We're talking about something very different. Let's do a trial. Let's see who got what and this and that and the other. And this is not to do anything other than celebrate what celebrators do. And he was like, yo, we need to be out. And we're out, and as you've said, 2 weeks later we're on lockdown. So the first week, I concur. The first week, you're like, this is wonderful. I can do it. Second week, it would have been wonderful if we weren't seeing the numbers growing, right?
Yes.
We were seeing the number, and you highlighted, just you came out with like a 1-2 bong bong bong. How we are under the what's the word I'm looking for? We're under the false sense of security that because we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, that these things just don't happen to us. So in the what I'd like to call the frontiers day, right, in the early portion of this, right, the trailblazing days, you were okay and you figured, this might be a week, it's all right, 2 weeks, cool. But you look up and you see, we were, if you're anything like me, we were glued to the news in some kind of way to figure out what was going on, right?
Every day, all day, every day, all day. It's like you said, we come from a place where we feel very sheltered, where we are told that we have everything, that we are fortunate, that we are the first world country, that we have this liberty and that we have this protection. And then many times, until tragedy hits or until we are put in the spotlight, as many other countries are more often than we are,
Right.
we start realizing that maybe this pseudo liberty is really not for all.
Right.
We kept hearing we're all in this together. Unfortunately, I believe that people like me, myself, and everybody that was lucky enough to still be employed during the pandemic, we didn't really feel much of the hurt that most people felt, but we saw it. And we saw it very closely because maybe it wasn't us, but it was our cousin. It was our mother. It was our brother that all of a sudden didn't have this protection that they felt that they had, because there is no more labor. There is no more what happens. Where is the security that we're supposed to have in this first world country when a pandemic like this hits? Where is our equality? And it was, I think this pandemic hit, I think a lot of people in very different ways, but we all felt the same. I think the only way that we were together is in the hurt and in realizing how maybe we are not as equal or have all the liberties that we believe or we've been told we have.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have our essential needs met.
Right.
How lucky really are we?
Right.
Being a first world country.
Mm-hmm. It's funny to hear you say it, because it was a whole set of brand new questions. And simultaneously with being, there's different phases. There's a question period, and then there's an answer period, right? But we were in a question period, but we had to have like definitives simultaneously, right? So my son Chris, you know well, he did a phenomenal piece of poetry during the pandemic. I think it was May, I want to say May, right about now, May 2020, something like that. It was on the website, something like that. And he took one of the lines are, we watched his dad did doomsday prep.
I've seen something like that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when of course, when they beat me up, I'm like, come on, ain't right, I'm dead. What's up? But when you think about what that period, with some of the things that you're talking about, being this country under the illusions that we have, and trying to grapple with how we're going to make it through this. It was from a transparency standpoint,
to say the least. And the leader that we had at the time was making it worse, I believe. Yeah. Everybody was up in arms. Yeah. I believe it was even worse because you look for guidance to your leaders, and we're being told to drink bleach and get some. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that, Mr. President. I think no.
Call me a punk.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that one.
I'm not sure what we tell you. That's funny. I think I have to agree. There were some different thoughts that we had versus the leadership at that time. Some different thoughts. Um, but I think we could agree we were in turmoil, but we were determined is the word I'm looking for. We were determined to do everything we possibly could to stay well, right? Uh, Gloves, mask, in early days gloves, right? As it progressed, you shed the gloves, excuse me. Gloves, sanitizer galore, hands drying out, your hands like a reptile. You're doing everything that you could because you had this boob tube feeding us what it was feeding us 24 hours a day. And then what was really interesting is that, at least for me, there were some the numbers were growing so significantly. I felt so blessed that nobody right there that I knew. But we in quarantine also. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like we were out and out there for life. But just in terms of the network of folks we're trying to keep close and do what we need to do, whether it's work or family, everybody seemed to be good. And then we got to the year mark. And then, we saw this, we saw that, a lot of transitions, whether it be economically, politically, just every LY was going on. And then we started seeing people who were in our immediate field of experience getting ill. For me, most of the folks who I found out about, it was after the fact. When you and I talked, it was during it. So it was very, very different. You know what I'm saying? I was looking forward to it. And I'm like, what's going on here? So it's very, very different. And so I want to shut up, what I'm saying, because that was an interesting period in time, which I think people can be blessed from and benefit just to see what the journey was and how you got to it. So you could be here laughing right now. And so I'm gonna shut up. Because it's you, obviously I took longer, but the floor is yours. On behalf of the encouragement campaign, we're so excited to have you with us.
You appreciate it.
Yeah, tell us what this whole thing was for you.
For me, I can honestly say that, and thinking back, as you know, I got sick early March of 2021. So a year later after the pandemic, I was positive for COVID. I was very ill. I was very ill for, I want to say I was out for 3 weeks straight, where I had all the symptoms plus. So it was something that was very traumatic, not only physically, but also emotionally. But I want to say that my COVID experience started from the beginning, from the time where we were tracking it in November, which is why I was bringing it up. I felt that once I got ill, I felt all the emotions come towards me. So it wasn't only my body aching, my fever, my shaking, the shortness of breath. It was also the anxiety of, wow, I have it. I have nothing. What have I done for my kids? Am I going to survive this? What if I don't survive this? I am alone, because it's an illness that you have to go through alone. You can't have anybody near you because you are sick and it's a contagious virus. So it was the many nights of, I didn't know what hurt more. If the fact that I spent all these years working so hard, being home maybe 2-3 hours to be with my kids and have nothing to show for it, and that this was the moment where I was to leave them. You start thinking about all these things because you've been hearing about this illness for so long, a year plus, and at some point you feel invincible. You feel like, well, it's not going to get to me, and you start forgetting again. how hard it really hit other people and how vulnerable you really are. Once I got sick, I remember I became positive. My mother was positive. Both of my sons were positive. Luckily, my sons were asymptomatic, but I was truly concerned for my mother. Luckily, she was also quite asymptomatic as well. She only had a slight fever and maybe, sort of like flu symptoms, but nothing heavy like. But I couldn't see her. I couldn't see her because I was in my room. I had times where I would leave the bathroom and everybody would have to be in their rooms. And it was just such a lonely experience that it starts really battling with your mind saying, what did I do? Who did I spend my time with? Where are my loved ones and why didn't I consider them in all this time? So, we have a lot of people around us. We call friends, we call acquaintances, and even our jobs. We give our lives for work. And yes, we do have a wonderful leader, like you mentioned. That's not where this is going. It's going more to the effect of, was it really worth it? What did I do? What do I have? If I leave tomorrow, what do my kids say?
Wow. Wow.
How much time did I spend with mom? What did I learn from mom? Are they going to remember that I worked really hard just to buy them that toy? Or are they going to remember how maybe I missed work one day to take them to the park?
Wow. Well, okay.
So it was that, all that kept playing in my head and thinking, I cannot leave like this. I cannot leave my kids and not show them that everything that I was doing was actually for them, but I was doing it wrong.
Wow.
And I think it was a very big wake-up call, where I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes I work late because I choose them now. I choose them. I choose being able to be their mother and have them present in my life. COVID period had two very different situations. It had the emotional effect where you feel that you've probably wasted time on things and people that really shouldn't be in your life for whatever reason. And you kind of took for granted the things that should be because they are there. Because you feel that they're always going to be there. But is that really how you want to remember it? How you want to be remembered by your loved ones? By somebody that took them for granted? So that was one of the biggest things that I took out of my my being ill, my being, stuck in a bed for 3 weeks, where my breathing got worse and worse as the time went on, and I really felt that I was not going to make it. I thought, well, this is me. I'm one of the young statistics that doesn't get to make it. That's how you end up feeling when and it's also because everything that we've been seeing, everything that we've been living, and like I said, you don't really consider it until it smacks you in the face. That was what it was for me. I remember also thinking, even though it is a illness that you have to more or less deal with on your own, which is probably one of the worst things for humans. I think that our whole life is to move out of, being alone, out of loneliness, and everything that we do just is for us to feel some love somewhere and be with somebody. Not only relationships, but also like family, kids, and all that. Our main purpose is not to be alone. Being in that bed and thinking, out of everybody that I met and out of all the people that I've known, and that I came across with, who was really there. You know, I remember my father was one of the persons I couldn't go on the phone with. I would get phone calls and I would see my dad, and it would break my heart. I didn't want to speak to him. Not because it just hurt so much to let him know how bad I was feeling. Not because of me. I hurt because of him. I'm like, he is one of the most sensitive men that I know. And if he would have known that me, his youngest, was ill, he would have been devastated if he would have known how ill I was.
Right.
So I opted not to pick up his phone calls because I would break down.
Right.
And I didn't want him to feel that. And then I had people like you and the encouragement campaign, which I never expected. I don't know if I told you that when you found out that I was sick, and you with your wonderful campaign, I believe it was the next day, I had food delivery in abundance to my home, which, you know, I remember my son came up with the bags and he's like, Mom, look at everything that we have. He's talking to me from one corner of the house and I'm on the other corner. And the only thing he's like, you know, taking everything out of the bag and he's so excited. He's like, oh, we have Gatorade, you know, and I was like, and I just broke down to tears because it was probably one of the most endearing and things that I had felt in a while, saying, wow, maybe there are people out there that care and that are doing these little things. And the solidarity that the encouragement campaign did, I can, on my end, I can tell you that it lifted my spirits highly. And I was
Wow.
like, maybe this is not so bad. Maybe there are people that I kept in my life for a reason, and it was, maybe I'm gonna make it. Maybe it's okay. So yeah.
Well, I tell you earlier in our conversation, I was getting some paper towels.
I'm holding back. You don't understand. I'm
You
holding
see,
back.
you see, right?
I did a lot of that. I did a lot of that. Even after being COVID free, it was still a very hard thing to swallow, to come back and be the same person that I was pre-COVID was very hard, because you start readjusting your life for a better purpose. Like I said, I love my job, and you know, I love what I do, and I love being with you guys, but I think I love my family more.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and I think our boss have mentioned, you know, maybe it's time to go back. Yeah, maybe, but not fully.
Mhm.
I don't think I'm ready to give up my family. I don't think I'm ready to give up things that really matter in my life,
Right.
because that's not the way I want to go out.
Right. Wow.
That's not the footprint that I want to leave.
Yo, give me a second, all right? Can you stop for a minute? Just stop. Give me a minute. let me digest. Listen, I knew when we had a chance, you know, we had spoken a little bit, obviously. I mean, we worked together, so we talked. And I was so excited when you said, yeah, you know, I'll be down, you know, tell my story. I was like, all right, cool, because I know what you had said to me moved me in that conversation. And I was like, wow, you know, just to understand what that moment was. I think the thing, excuse me, I think the thing that really kind of messed me up, and I'm not going to keep you a long time, typically, because, you know, we could do this in 4 hours, 5 hours easily, you know, you know, we could do it. You know, but what I will say is this. I think the thing that really resonated for me is when we were talking, as you were going through the heat of it, and you said, you know, every piece of my body feels broken.
Down to my soul.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say down to your soul then, because I'd have been more messed up. But when you said that, I was just like, wow, this is, this is a friend of mine. This is somebody who, we know each other over a decade, you know what I'm saying, working together and doing what we do, So it really moved me, and I was thankful that we had a vehicle through the campaign to be able to know someone who's going through it and just lend us a piece of air. That, we just wanted some air. Wanted you to be able to go like this, you know what I'm saying? Just to be able to, come out of that space for a moment, and just let, somebody know that somebody loves you, they care for you, and you won't get through this, So, man, I don't know. I think I always.
I've seen throughout this whole period, I think we all saw how the city was coming together in solidarity for the less fortunate people that they were giving, food or any essential things that they would need for their day-to-day. And you never really know how it hits your heart when it happens to you. And I don't think that there could have been a better name for the campaign you have going on than the encouragement campaign, because that is exactly how I felt. I felt encouraged. I said, wow.
Wow.
I felt encouraged.
That means a lot. That means a lot. We're gonna have to talk to you on the side and be like, listen, can you be one of our promoters? I gotta go there.
I have the little sticker in I pasted it on my jean jacket.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice. You gotta, the next time you have it on, you got to take a picture and send it to me so that this way, we can have it. We'll throw it on the website with your story.
Yeah, I will. I'll take a picture of it.
Wow. Listen, I always say this, and I'm gonna let you go. What if you had to coin a phrase as to what brought you through? What would you say? Some people say that I began to love me, or we were the vaccine, or just a various things, taglines that folks say out of their experience. What would you say?
I'm not ready to let go of my family.
Say again?
I'm not ready to let go of my family. Wow. I have a lot of work to do with my boys.
Wow.
I think the mother side of me was what was encouraging me more not to give up completely. Family, keeping my family, and not leaving in better terms with my brother. Not that we were in bad terms, but I don't think I ever really told him how much I loved him.
Wow.
Letting my dad know. My mother. I think it was family. And there you go.
Yeah, let me pass you this. Oh, right.
The love for my family and my boys. I think that I have a lot more to do. I'm not done with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, on that note, I'm gonna say it don't gotta be a long time to be a good time. But listen, I appreciate this perspective that you brought to the table. When I listen to this again, I'm going to definitely have by your name something that talks about the family. Meaning, based on what you say, we'll put down ... It's all about the family. Or I'm not willing to leave it. I got to rewind the tape. Oh man, trying to remember it. but nonetheless, listen. Thank you so much. Oh, listen, I've just had a wonderful time. We did an hour. I took an hour out of your. You were probably gonna go back to the desk, I'm sure. But oh, yeah, you're supposed to hear it. We're on tape. Say yeah. Go back to the desk.
Yes. I probably will, but not until I tuck them and give them kisses and read them their story.
Wow. Wow. Listen, do what you do. Thank you so much. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you again for having me.
Absolutely. Pleasure.